If you look at this bill, there are a couple of things to say about it. Number one, it would have been very simple for the Biden administration to pass bipartisan legislation focused on COVID relief. Last year, Congress came together and passed bipartisan legislation on COVID relief 5 times. 5 times you saw Republicans and Democrats work together. Republicans were more than ready to roll up our sleeves and say, let's focus on vaccines, on distributing the vaccines, on supporting health care, on getting kids back to school, on providing relief for families that are hurting, or helping small businesses open their doors. All of those could have passed with massive bipartisan majorities. The Biden administration decided it didn't want to do any of that. Instead, it handed the pen over, it handed the agenda over to the radical left, to the Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and AOC. And as Jen Psaki said, this is the most progressive bill, by which she means left-wing socialist, knuckle-headed bill that has passed in decades. And I do a podcast every week called Verdict with Ted Cruze. And the last podcast, what I talked about is, if you wanted to sum up the Biden administration, the first 6 weeks of the Biden administration, in 3 words, the 3 words would be boring but radical. And by that I mean, I think Joe Biden has made a political decision to be incredibly boring. That after 4 years of Donald Trump dominating the headlines, every tweet dominating the headlines, I think the Biden administration decided people were tired of that, and so let's just have good old Uncle Joe be boring and not make news. And he's managed to do that. You think about, there are not many days in the last 6 weeks where you've woken up and said, what did Joe Biden say today? Because most days he doesn't answer questions from reporters, he doesn't say much of anything. But that boring is a mask, it's a facade for an incredibly radical agenda. And Buck, I'll tell you 3 amendments that we voted on in the all-night voting session we had. Number one, an amendment that I co-sponsored that said these $1,400 stimulus checks shouldn't go to prisoners, shouldn't go to violent criminals, murderers and rapists and child molesters currently in prison. Every single Democrat voted no. So this money is going to murderers currently in prison. Secondly, an amendment I introduced that said we shouldn't be sending these $1,400 taxpayer checks to illegal aliens, the 12 million illegal aliens in the United States. Again, every single Democrat voted no. And a third amendment that I introduced provided that we need to open the schools, and it said the money that's being sent, the billions of dollars that are being sent to schools, the schools don't get the new money unless they actually open up and teach our kids. And if they don't open up, the parents and kids get scholarships up to $10,000 a student, so that kids who haven't been being educated for a year can actually be educated. Every single Democrat voted no. This is a radical partisan agenda, and we're going to see a lot more of it from the Biden administration.